In the collective imagination of humanity, some places are meant for gods, not mortals. The Himalayas, Earth's third pole, the roof of the world. For hundreds of millions of years, with the force of thunder, it has defined climates and partitioned civilizations. But what if humanity decided to challenge this divine realm? What if we decided to use steel, fire, and wisdom to install a 1,629-kilometer-long railway into this slumbering dragon? This is not science fiction. This is the Sichuan-Tibet Railway, a megaproject costing over $50 billion, enough to fund NASA's Artemis moon return program for several years. What it seeks to conquer is not just the physical chasm, but also the blurred line between human ambition and the laws of nature. This is a story of conquest and also a story of cost. It will reshape maps, rewrite economies, and may even shake our very definition of development. Today, let's peel back the staggering numbers and explore the soul-stirring essence behind this sky road that could shake the world. Conventional engineering must be almost entirely rewritten in the face of the Sichuan-Tibet Railway. Imagine this. We are not building a house on flat ground, but rather attempting to erect a skyscraper on the deck of a giant ship navigating a tempestuous sea. A shocking comparison of data. The railway will climb from the Sichuan Basin at an altitude of about 500 meters to the heart of the plateau at over 4,500 meters, with a cumulative ascent exceeding 14,000 meters. This is equivalent to stacking the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, end-to-end 17 times. The gradient limit for traditional railways is about 1%, whereas the Sichuan-Tibet Railway must utilize unprecedented spiral switchbacks on certain sections. Over 80% of the entire line will consist of bridges and tunnels. What does a total tunnel length of 851 kilometers mean? It's equivalent to digging a tunnel from beneath Paris, France, all the way to the city center of Berlin, Germany. The longest of these, the Yigong Tunnel, is 42.5 kilometers long, even longer than the Channel Tunnel. These tunnels must not only cut through hard granite, but also contend with geothermal heat exceeding 200 degrees Celsius, high-pressure water inrushes, and toxic gases. A custom-designed tunnel boring machine, TBM, with a diameter of over 15 meters, moves like a steel behemoth through the mountain's core, its power sufficient to supply electricity to a small town. This railway is being built in one of the world's most geologically active and fragmented regions, the collision front of the Indian and Eurasian plates. Hundreds of perceptible earthquakes occur here annually. The permafrost of the Tibetan Plateau is an engineer's ultimate nightmare. It appears solid but melts into a swamp in summer, capable of swallowing any unstable structure. Russia's Trans-Siberian Railway has suffered from permafrost for a century and is still under constant repair. Chinese engineers are attempting to use active cooling, roadbeds, and thermal piles. This is a gamble against climate change. If it fails, not only will the railway be destroyed, but the vast amount of methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide, trapped in the permafrost will be released, creating a vicious cycle. Tibet is known as the treasure house of the roof of the world. It holds nearly 40% of China's copper deposits, as well as vast reserves of lithium and rare earth elements. Currently, the cost of transporting 1 ton of goods out of Tibet is several times that of the interior. After the railway's completion, transportation costs are expected to plummet by 40–50%. This means mineral resources worth hundreds of billions of dollars will be unlocked and integrated directly into the global supply chain. Some predict Tibet's GDP could double within a decade, staging a plateau miracle. Tens of millions of tourists already visit Tibet annually, but transportation is a huge bottleneck. The railway will reduce travel time from Chengdu to Lhasa from 48 hours to 13 hours. This is not just a shortening of time, but a closing of psychological distance. It is projected that after the full line opens, the annual number of tourists could exceed 60 million, surpassing the total population of many European countries. The hotel, catering, and service industries will experience explosive growth. But the other side of the coin is the immense cultural and social impact. The worry of cultural dilution. What happens when tens of millions of tourists, along with the accompanying laborers and entrepreneurs, pour into this once relatively isolated land? Will the Tibetan language, traditional customs, and religious rituals become mere cultural spectacles for novelty seekers in the tide of commercialization? Unequal distribution of development. Can the jobs and business opportunities brought by this massive investment be fairly distributed to benefit the local Tibetan population? Or will they be seized by outsiders with more experience and capital? This unequal distribution of development dividends can easily trigger social conflicts, a growing pain that any rapidly developing region must confront. The glaciers in and around the Himalayas are the source of Asia's 7 major rivers, including the Yangtze, Yellow River, Mekong, and Indus, directly or indirectly supplying water to nearly 40% of the world's population, about 3 billion people. Any pollution to these water sources from railway construction, operation, and subsequent human activities will have catastrophic transnational consequences. This is the last sanctuary for endangered species like the snow leopard, Tibetan antelope, and black-necked crane. Will this great wall of steel, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, sever their migration routes? Do not naively assume this is just a transportation line. On the geopolitical chessboard, every steel rail is an extension of a kingdom. The easternmost section of the Sichuan-Tibet Railway is just a stone's throw from the disputed Sino-Indian border region. This railway can reduce the transport time for China's heavy equipment, troops, and supplies from weeks to just 1 or 2 days. For India, which has long maintained a military standoff at the border, this is undoubtedly immense strategic pressure. Looking to the future, the Sichuan-Tibet Railway has the potential to extend southward, connecting to Nepal and even Bangladesh and India. If realized, it would open a direct land artery for China to the South Asian subcontinent and the Indian Ocean, completely bypassing the traditional maritime lifeline of the Strait of Malacca. This would fundamentally rewrite the trade patterns of the Eurasian continent, with strategic significance comparable to the opening of the Suez Canal. In 2030, when the first train whistles along the entire route, will that crisp sound announce the arrival of a new era, or will it be a requiem for an ancient, sacred domain? Does this road lead to paradise, or to a future whose consequences we cannot foresee? Perhaps the real answer lies not in the engineer's blueprints, nor in the economist's reports. It lies within each of us, in whether, while enjoying the conveniences of modern civilization, we are still willing to give a moment of deep thought to the invisible costs,